Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Misfits Racing League round. It is number 10. It is the Italian Grand Prix, and today we are going to be seeing our Tier 1 drivers on the grid. We saw our Tier 2 drivers absolutely tear it up earlier in some super heavy, wet conditions. So, today on the broadcast with me, as per usual, is Mr. Mick. How you doing today, Mick?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Striffy. I'm really looking forward to this race. See what our Tier 1 drivers can give us after an amazing show in Tier 2.
Oh, most definitely. And to take a look at how this circuit looks, we have two major DRS detection zones, one in Sector 1 and one in, Sector 2 and one in Sector 3. And those DRS areas will be the exit of Sector 2 down into the Ascari chicane, and of course, on the first straight of the lap, the pit straight. So, looking at the calendar now, we are on round number 10, like I said, which means we've seen our drivers visit Abu Dhabi, Canada, France, Austria, Spain, Russia, Brazil, Germany, and most recently, Silverstone. And for today, we are at none other than the iconic Temple of Speed. It is the Circuit de Monza in Italy, and I am super pumped for how things are going to unfold for these guys in round number 10. But of course, this is not the last race of the season. We have plenty more of action coming your way. We have Spa, Hungary, Bahrain, Baku, Australia, Mexico, and Suzuka in Japan for the final race of the season. Lots of fantastic action going to be coming your way still, with both divisions now going to be following through on that grid. Now, let's take a look at the teams driving here for Tier 1. I do believe we have a couple of drivers missing out. I think we are missing Samus this evening, unfortunately, due to some connection issues he's dealing with on his end. So, Semaj and Rackety take up their seats over at Ferrari. Skybits and Shenjay in Haas. Once again, Shenjay with a fantastic performance after his debut last week. Falcon 9 Hawning in the Renaults, Fubar and Custom in the Mercedes. Samus, like I said, not going to be here. Undertaker will be in the Alfa Romeo. Maybe Samus will make it. I'm not too sure. So Sneaky and Jasko will be taking up their seats over at Red Bull. Neon Rays and Henry over at Williams. Neon Rays has been showing quite a lot of pace lately, scoring a lot of points for those Williams boys. Yoda and John in McLaren, BTFU, and Young IP over at Toro Rosso. Young IP still looking to have a solid finish after his unfortunate debut didn't go the way he wanted in Germany. So after Silverstone, hopefully he's able to get back on the grid, and hopefully his pace is starting to hopefully he's starting to get comfortable in that car. We have Bear Gaming and Tupaka taking up their seats over at Racing Point. Now, for my favorite part of the broadcast, Mikal, it's the standings, and it is super tight right now in the standings. We have Zamajo running things up at the front with 157 points. Yoda in second with 106. Now, Samus, the big news for today, who may not be able to race today, has just overtaken BTFU into third position on the championship standings. So BTFU in fourth with 67 points, Samus just ahead with 70, but that isn't the worst of it, or the best of it, I should say, as Falcon 9 is in fifth with 64 points, Neon Rays with 51 in sixth, Sneaky seventh, tied with Henry in eighth, Rackety in ninth, and Custom in 10th with 22 points. And that rounds off your top 10 drivers. Skybits in 11th with 20 points. Shenjay and Fubar tied for 12th. Jasko and Fusions are tied as well. Undertaker, Little Bear, Jean round off the last few drivers with points. And Hawning and Young IP scoreless so far here in this season, as they did join the grid later on in the calendar. For the constructor standings, of course, it is Ferrari out in front right now with 200 points after Rackety scored a fantastic podium last week in his home race of Silverstone, which was, I'm sure, a surprise to his teammate Zamajo. Probably looked over at him there and said, hey, what are you doing here? Good job, my friend. Fantastic from the Ferrari boys last week. McLaren. Now they're in second with 115 points, and this is where things get really spicy. They are the first team behind Ferrari. Ferrari with a monstrous gap out front, but McLaren 115 points. Williams behind them with 86. Then Red Bull 84. Alfa Romeo 82. Renault 80, Haas 78, tied with Toro Rosso, and you have Mercedes in 9th position and Racing Point not too far behind them in 10th. So the Constructors' Championship, Mikhail, what do you have to say about that? Because it is looking mighty spicy.
Well, it's basically all the teams. All the teams are within, 8 points of each other, which is absolutely phenomenal. Like I keep saying week in, week out, a standout performance from one of these drivers or perhaps an upset can really influence the standings a great deal. So these drivers will have to make sure they keep it on track, keep it clean, and hopefully we'll see some tight wheel-to-wheel action today.
Most definitely. I'm super pumped to get in here, and I'm also extremely excited to see if we're going to have a weather-affected race like we did earlier in Tier 2. It was something else if you missed it. Of course, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for the race VOD and the race highlights videos that we will be putting out for that race. It was quite the event. Unfortunately, due to some connection issues, the race was not able to finish in standard time. So, of course, the MRL admins and stewards looking at a way to revisit that race perhaps, or see how things are going to end off there. But of course, we'll have more information for you guys on that in the Discord and on Twitter. Now, Mikhail.
We're not here for tier 2 anymore. This is tier 1. This is the
That's
big
right.
boys.
That's right. It is the big boys. Of course, the Tier 1 drivers. As you can see, there's quite a few MRL tagged drivers in the lobby right now. And let's see how the weather is going to shape up for this qualifying and race session. I'm super excited. Italy is one of those circuits that everybody really likes, okay? But they all like to drive it by themselves because nobody in Italy that I've seen, I mean, you know what? I don't know why I'm saying that because in Tier 2 we had an extremely clean race. But for the most part, at least my experience is Monza is quite chaotic as we're just waiting for Yoda and Custom to load in here. Looks like we've got some kind of lobby issue. I don't know. We had a bit of a jump
I
onto
hope
the
that
screen there. If we're gonna have
hope
lobby
that
issues, I
look.
hope they happen now. I hope they happen now and not on lap
That is
22.
very true. That is very true. Uh, but yeah, Monza is a quite a unique circuit in that regard because you take, I think it was like 70% of the lap full throttle,
Something
and
very
like
close to that, yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's a very fast circuit, and it's the circuit where you run basically no wing, gun it down the straights, and hope for the best in the corners. But when you're driving against other races, especially in those first couple of laps, it can get very, very tight very, very quickly because there's no real sort of procession like corner sequence where you can't go too wide until you get, halfway around the lap. So I'm very interested to see how these drivers deal with the turn one, lap one, because it's often infamous in the open lobbies for being absolutely chaotic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one, and we definitely have some great talent in this league, and I'm looking forward to see if they can give us a good show.
So it is sunshine for qualification that we can see on screen right now.
Well, I'm hoping the race is dry as well. To be honest, you just want to see drivers going flat out down the straights through all the corners. Have that DRS available.
I mean, after that Tier 2 race, I would be lying to everyone here if I didn't say I would be in for a little bit more of a relaxed race where I don't have to raise my voice too much at some of the overtaking that I was watching through those heavy torrential downpouring conditions. But let's have
I
a
would
look
I
and
wouldn't
see who the first
I
driver
wouldn't
out
get
of
too
the
relaxed.
garage here is.
I wouldn't get too relaxed, Drifrium. These tier one drivers definitely know how to put on a good show. Because I
Oh,
have been informed that it will be completely dry for both the qualifying and the race. So
as a
these drivers will have
multitude.
no weather to worry about.
It's
So already
fantastic.
seeing a whole lot of action on the track.
Now, I do believe that is Henry in the Williams. my co-commentator for the Tier 2 races, everybody. Let him know you're watching and rooting for him there, as he is the first out of the pits here in qualifying. And he will more than likely be the first driver to set a lap. He was, of course, a driver yesterday evening with me as well in Monza, so he does have a little bit of an idea of what to expect, as does Custom and BTFU. They have a little bit of time spent very recently on circuit here. Taking a look at the grid now, we have Undertaker over at Alfa Romeo and Aphrodite, who we saw driving fantastic in Tier 2 earlier, deciding to jump in for even more Italian Grand Prix action, so he will be reserving for Samus today. Big shout out to Samus in the chat. Unfortunately, he's unable to join us on the race due to some technical issues with his internet, but I do believe he is watching along with us here on the broadcast. So good day, Samus. Bad luck, my friend, but I'm sure Aphrodite has things well in hand as your reserve driver for the campaign. Henry now rounding the Parabolica. Mikhail, take us through a lap here in Italy.
Yep, so make sure that you get a very, very nice run out of the final corner. Get my thing set up. All right, so down into turn 1 we go, hard on the brakes. Goes all the way down to first gear. It's all about corner exit. Gets a little, like a bit of his tire on the grass, but it doesn't seem to have cost him too much. Does he go up through the gears through the Curva Grande? 8th gear, heading into sector 2. Down to 3rd, and he looks like he's taken a lot of curve on that second part of the chicane. And it does appear he's backed out of it. Nevertheless, through the Lesmos. And then down the second DRS straight. Going all the way through the gears. Looking for that 100-meter board. Braking all the way down to 5th gear for Ascari, taking all of the curb available. And then you go up through the gears again. Pushing towards the final corner, the famous Parabolica. 4th gear to get that rotation around. And then you come across the line, but I think Henry is going to pit and get off those tires. Start having our first few times now on the board. Yoda sitting in 19.4. Custom 20.1. Undertaker 21.3.
Zamajo on a flyer. Coming around Parabolica there. Sneaky has to go wide to let him through. Not sure if it impacted his lap at all. Looks like he might have slowed down just a little bit, but Zamajo comes across 3rd on the mediums with a 119.8 to be 0, and Rackety, his teammate, jumps ahead into 3rd on the softs, a 119.8. So the mechanics in the Ferrari garage wondering where Rackety's pace is, considering his teammate is pretty well the same pace on the slower tire. Let's take a look, though. It is the 10 drivers to set times here so far. Yoda on provisional pole, Shenjay in 2nd, Rackety in 3rd, his teammate Zamajo behind him on the mediums, Custom in 5th, Skybit 6th, BTF 7th, Undertaker 8th, Ferg in 9th, Young IP in 10th, and those are the 10 drivers that have set times here so far in the session. Neon Rays flying down into Ascari. He's hit a ton of traffic here. There were 2 cars. I believe that was Young IP, and I'm not quite sure who the other one was, going and wheel to wheel through quite. It might have been Skybits.
Drivers. Yeah, I think it was Skybits.
So Neon Rays, once again here in Tier 1, having some issues in qualifications with traffic. Fusion's on an invalid lap as well. Falcon now heading out in the Renault on an out lap, so it looks like Neon Rays and Fusions both going to be boxing, as Fusions did invalidate. Looks like he may be running again though. As, excuse me, he is just beginning his flying lap now. You can see he's got things ramped up, and Neon Rays decided to go into the pits. So we'll jump on board with Fusions, aka Tupaka, if I am not mistaken. And Furge will be his reserve driver, sitting in for Little Bear today. Purple Sector 1 from the racing point, making his way through the second chicane now. Coming up to that first Lesmo, there's Honning in the Renault, pulled off to the inside line.
Making his way through the second Lesmo now. DRS wide open. Let's see what speeds he can reach. Goes all the way to 345 before he's hard on the brakes for Ascari. Oh, you can just see the understeer through that section. But he keeps it on the track. And he keeps it going strong. Into the Parabolica we go. Decides to hold it in fifth. Brings the car way out wide. Gets it straightened up. And across the line, that is P10 for the Racing Point. 121.9.
Right behind his teammate.
A little weave of excitement there.
Falcon in the Renault coming through the second Lesmo onto the Sector 2 straight now. Down into Ascari we go. Looking to set his first lap of the session. 10 minutes remaining. Ooh. Big cut from him in Ascari there on the entry. So that is going to invalidate his lap, and his fuel light is on. So we are more than likely going to see him come in at the end here. Fubar in the Mercedes on an outlap now. Honning on a flyer, coming up on some traffic. I do believe that is Sneaky.
Oh, he's getting the toe.
Very nice toe from the Red Bull.
I don't think it was intentional, though.
I don't think it was intentional either, but he's already set that purple Sector 2 now. As he makes his way through Ascari, he looks pretty clean here, and it looks like he's going to get another toe. This is fantastic for the Renault driver.
As Fusions staying to the right-hand side. Let's see what Honning can do with those two toes. Comes across the line in P10 with the 121.4.
Great first lap from Honning here in Italy. He is currently scoreless in the championship after 2 races, so hopefully for him, he's able to jump into some points today, and with that time, he's definitely looking like it here so far in qualification. We are halfway through qualifying right now. 15 out of the 20 drivers on the grid have been able to set times. Jean retired out of session. Not too sure. Is Jean retiring? What am I missing with John here? Did he crash? Did I? Or am I missing something?
Must have. Doesn't have any penalties. Yeah. So he must have just lost it somewhere. It's very unfortunate for Jean. He's one of the probably one of the most underrated drivers on the grid at the moment.
As I'm being informed that is an Ascari crash that did in the McLaren. Fubar now about to head down into Ascari, exiting that second Lesmo. Into the DRS straight we go. Shenjie takes pole, a 119.4 in the Haas. Showing super speed in that car on that lap. And there goes Fubar, unfortunately, taking a little bit too much curb there through Ascari and invalidating his lap. Sneaky on an outlap now. He set a 122.7, but I think he might have just been warming up here, as Sneaky throughout the season has been quite, I want to say inconsistent. Of course, he's back now after missing the previous 2 races. But we did see him take a podium in Spain. He is a driver who has shown he has that capability of scoring serious points for the Red Bull squad. Haven't seen too much out of Jasko since he took over for Ricky Ciardo as well. And that is Zamajo in that Ferrari taking pole position here away from Shenjie. And the Tifosi, the Tifosi in Italy, gonna be happy about that. It is a Ferrari on provisional pole here in Monza. Now Neon Rays. Looks like he is on an invalidated lap at the moment as he dials down the engine coming around Parabolica. He is going to have to go into the pits again. in order to get that car reset for what I think will be a final lap attempt here on those softs. Falcon, though, running again in that Renault, looking to set a time, and hopefully, folks, that time is a good one as the grid is starting to shrink. The gaps are starting to become super marginal. Every 10th, every 100th, every 1,000th of a second is going to count for these guys as he sets a purple sector 2.
A lot of purple sector 2s. I don't know if that's Codemasters being very generous or it's actually legitimate, but nevertheless, Falcon, one of the faster drivers as he heads through Parabolica now, 4th gear to get that rotation. Shot shifts up to 5th, brings the car all the way out to that left-hand side, straightens it up, and across the line, and that's good enough for 3rd place at the moment, 119.47.
That was a fantastic lap from the Renault driver. Super great stuff. Just want to give a shout out to Mr. Rage Formula One for the raid, my friend. Thank you for the party of 8. Welcome to Misfits Racing League Season 2. This is the Tier 1 division for round 10 here in Italy. My name is Strifium, and joining me is Mikal. Thank you for tuning into the broadcast. As these drivers are just getting their times set here in qualification, we have a retirement from Neon Rays. I do believe that was in the pit lane, or, excuse me, in turn 1. So we're going to jump on over and try and catch that. That's Undertaker coming out of the pits now. You can see a full-blown right suspension failure on that Williams of Neon Rays. So unfortunately for him, he has not had the qualification I'm sure he wanted in that Williams. He had a fantastic drive in Germany from the back of the grid to win the race, though. So definitely not somebody you want to discount out just because of his qualifying position. Everybody here in the session has set a time, aside from Jean and Neon Rays, who unfortunately DNF'd. Fubar, the last of the running drivers on the grid, to not set a time. So hopefully he's able to get out soon. Undertaker now looking to improve. Hopefully he's on those soft compounds now on his out lap. Take a look at the rest of the grid. Let's see who else is about to set a time. Skybits looks like he's crawling into the pits there. Henry out in the Williams on an invalidated lap, and there aren't too many people getting ready to set laps here. Shenjay looks like he's about to go around again, so we'll have to jump on board with him. He's got that engine turned right up coming through the pit straight. Crossing the line now on board with the Haas driver.
I'm just watching Jaska here as well. He looks like he's had a little bit of a spin at the second Lesmo. He lost a bit of his front wing, but he survives to live another day.
Shenjay looking to improve on that 119.4. I'm sure there's a lot more pace in that car for the Haas driver with that Ferrari power here in Monza. Looking to catch up to Semaj, who, of course, is our championship leader here in Season 2 for the Tier 1 division.
Majo's just too quick, man.
Yeah, but of course, it's a long race, and as we saw in Germany, Mikhail, in order to score those points, it's important to finish the race, and we saw all 3 of our driver championship leaders at the time not able to score points in that race, and it definitely shuffled the standings quite a bit. Very clean through Ascari as Shenjay, a little bit of a slip out from the rear as he exits, but for the most part, I don't think he lost too much time there. So he is coming down into Parabolica now, braking just before that 50-meter board. Short shifts it down into 4th. Or sorry, shifts it down into 4th. Short shifts it up to 5th for the power out, and he comes across with an improvement of 119.320.
It's an improvement, but it's not enough.
Looking at Fubar now, who is finally on a flying lap that hopefully he's able to put a time on the board with in that Mercedes.
Well, he's not going to have enough time to make it back to the pits and go out again. So if he's only got enough fuel for 1 lap, this is it.
Fubar, one of those drivers we've seen consistently throughout this season, if I do recall correctly, Mikal, playing it down to those few last minutes, being unlucky with some of those first few laps, and he's unfortunately had to do one-shot qualification a couple of times here. For those asking in the chat, the Tier 2 pole time, I do believe, was a 1:18.9 by the Toro Rosso driver of Bois.
Yeah, absolutely rapid time from him. But Fubar comes across the line now. And he sets a 19.4, slingshots him all the way up into third.
Very
My
nice by the
goodness.
Mercedes driver. Custom, his teammate on an out lap now coming through Ascari. He's looking for some revenge, I would think, here in Italy, after a very interesting and unique performance that we saw from him in PPR yesterday. Of course, PPR Esports Division 2 driver. Check them out on YouTube. Very nice crew of guys running that league over there. Of course, we saw Racer 33 from that league in Tier 2 earlier today. Custom now beginning his flying lap. That's the McLaren of Yoda coming down into turn 1. I hope he realizes he's got that Mercedes behind him, and I think he does as he blows through the first turn to give all of the space to Custom.
Yeah, as the timer keeps ticking down, 45 seconds left in the session. Semaj, currently your pole sitter Falcon, has improved to second place at 1:19.1. Shenjie in third, 19.3. Fubar is in fourth with a 19.41. And Yoda, as you just saw there, is in fifth with a 19.48.
It's quite a tight grid, and we saw that earlier in the Tier 2 division as well. I do believe it was the drivers from 4th all the way down to 9th were all inside of a 100th of each other. It was it was either a 10th or a 100th. I'm pretty sure it was a 100th of a second, but it may have been a 10th as well. But there was a super tight grid in Tier 2 as well, and we're seeing much of that here in Tier 1. As qualifying time has now expired, Custom did improve, but not enough to pull him ahead in the grid. He finishes qualification in 10th. A couple of other drivers still out on laps, though. BTFU flying through Ascari now. And it looks like Falcon may have had an issue in Sector 2. BTFU looks like he invalidated through Ascari there as well, so not going to be able to improve is the Toro Rosso driver. Rackety in the Ferrari, he is also unfortunately invalidated. And I have to say, with the amount of invalidations here that we've seen in qualifying, Mikau, do you feel like corner cutting penalties and penalties of the sort are going to play a large role in the final moments of this race?
I think they have the potential to. Monza is quite easy to, just get a few corners wrong, take a bit too much curb, and, get pinged for a warning. So it's definitely important for these drivers to keep it clean here.
Yeah, Falcon.
Especially if there's a safety car towards the end of the race.
Yeah, Falcon in that Renault pulling off to the side in the Ascari there. I don't think he realizes that all the drivers currently running are no longer being controlled by their respective users. So he is the last active driver on the grid now as he is looking to finish out qualifying. He will come into the pit lane, I do believe. And for those of you in the chat joining us, if you have any particular driver on this grid that is your favorite to win, we'd love to hear it in the chat. And of course, do us all a favor, share the stream with your friends. Let them know that there's about to be some extremely intense racing action here in Monza for the MRL Tier 1 division. My name is Shrifium, and Mikal, I think we're going to have quite the race ahead of us here. We didn't see any safety cars in Tier 2, so hopefully we have some of that racing action in Tier 1 as well. Super clean stuff.
Well, this grid is very, very tight. So I'm expecting great things from these drivers. And I'm sure they're going to give us one hell of a show. Striff.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt we're going to have a great show with a grid like this. And ladies and gentlemen, the grid for this evening's Tier 1, it is Semaj on pole with Falcon lining up next to him on second position. Shenjie in third, Fubar fourth, Yoda in fifth, Rackety in sixth, Henry in the Williams in seventh, BTFU in eighth, Astro in ninth, Custom rounding off the top 10 with that Mercedes. Undertaker in 11th, Skybits in 12th, Fusions in 13th, Furge Pavia in 14th, reserving for Tupaka today. Sneaky in 15th in the Red Bull and his teammate right behind him in 16th, and Hawning in 17th. With, I do believe, Young IP perhaps at the back in 18th with Neon Rays, and I believe Jean unable to finish out the race, unless I'm mistaken, on Young IP being in the race at the moment, which I think I am. Who is it that I thought was in that position? Hawning? No. That's okay. We are about to get underway here as all these drivers are finalizing setups. We have 15 seconds counting down for these drivers to select their appropriate fuel level. Tire composition for those that are starting in the back 10. And just, the calm before things get kicked off here, Mikhail. What are you thinking? Who are your picks for podium today? I did this with Henry earlier, and I think I was pretty damn close as the formation lap gets underway here.
Well, you can't discount, our top 3 runners. Currently, Semaj, Falcon, and Chenjay, all showing incredible speed. Then again, with how close this grid is, it could really be anyone. You still have to finish, as you said before in qualifying, to finish first you must finish. And Monza, if you get it wrong, could easily end your race right there and then.
Yep. Without a doubt. So I was correct.
Nevertheless,
it is Young IP that I think may have had a connection issue. Hopefully he's able to get back into his car ahead of this race. It would be very unfortunate for him if he doesn't. But of course, Neon Rays and Jean, like I said, retiring in the qualification due to some damage. They both had a couple of issues there. Not sure what happened to Neon Rays. Of course, I was told Jean may have lost it in Ascari. So hopefully they're able to not do that in the race. You can see Jean there starting on the soft compound tire. What do you think about tire composition for some of these drivers in the back 10 on the grid?
well, once I can actually see it and get myself set up, I can tell you. Well, you have the 2 Racing Points, Jasco and Neon Rays on those medium tires, so they're definitely looking to go long into this first stint. The medium to soft can work, and I've heard from a couple of the drivers who are actually on the grid today that they definitely prefer that. Nevertheless, getting those early positions off the start can be very, very important. Otherwise, yeah, everyone else is on softs, trying to go full pace, as we've had a Ferrari spin.
Not sure what Zamajo is doing, and he has been reset to the front of the grid. So not sure what happened there. Maybe he had a glitch with his wheel or something like that. Now, I had a question recently about wheel and pad users, and somebody was asking me, is Misfits Racing League a wheel league or is it a pad league? And I wasn't aware that some leagues actually only allowed one or the other, but I am happy to say that Misfits Racing League is a joint league where users are allowed to use whatever equipment they feel they are fastest with. So some of these drivers, of course, on pad, some of them on wheel, and that could definitely play into the start of this race as well, as it is quite the drag race down to turn 1. So pad, I have heard, has a benefit in race starts.
Yeah, well, let's stop talking about wheels and pads because the lights are coming on. 5 lights ahead of the drivers. And it's lights out and away we go. Looks like Falcon gets an amazing launch off the start. Samaja really struggling all the way down into 4th now. And there's going to be 4 wide for these drivers as they make their way down to turn 1. Oh, there's a very heavy collision there between Rakity and one of the Haas drivers, but Samajo having an awful start all the way down in 7th position. So as they make their way through the Curva Grande, it is Falcon, followed by Shenjay, Fubar, Rakity, Yoda, Henry, Samajo, BTFU, Astronaut, and Custom as your top 10 at the moment.
It's the 2 Racing Points wheel to wheel.
And the 2 Ferraris are off! The 2 Ferraris are off! There's a Toro Rosso, I think, or a Red Bull being spun around. That is, I believe that is Fusions, actually. You still have a yellow flag sector 2, but that is an awful start for Samajo, all the way down in 19th at the start of this race. but no safety car or VSC as of yet.
Let's take a look at the Ferrari of Semaj and take a look at that front wing there. You can see on the front left, he is missing an end plate. And for a driver, even of Semaj's caliber, as he is leading the championship right now, even in that Ferrari on their home circuit, that is going to be a pain for him in that Ferrari to drive with that damaged wing. So very unfortunate for him. No safety car in the first lap going to save him just yet. But of course, it is a very long race. Falcon is your race leader right now, and he has pulled out a fantastic gap between him and Chenjay right now. Chenjay only half a second behind, but Fubar, as the gaps right now on my screen are not true to what they really are on circuit. We'll have to wait another lap for those things to update properly. But
oh goodness, I wish it was real. Having all the drivers within a tenth of each other.
Yeah.
That would have been absolutely amazing to see. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, so we have some action towards the back of the grid. Looks like Harning has lost the position to Ferge. Just looking at him down in the battle for P11. He goes around the outside.
A little bit of contact.
And Rackety is going to seize that opportunity, trying to go around the outside of the first Lesmo. Oh, they're so close. They're still side by side as they make their way into the second Lesmo. And it looks like Rackety had that move done, but got a bit of wheel spin there on the exit, and Harning takes that position. He's now up into 12th place.
One mistake from either of these drivers, and you have Jasko and Neon Rays right on the rear. A little bit of dirt kicking up from that Ferrari there, Jasko, and oh, this is such crazy racing we're seeing in the back of this field. Look at how these cars are spread out right now, coming down this back straight into Parabolica. That's Rackety up the inside of Parabolica. He makes a move on the Renault of Harning. He's up into 12th place. That's a fantastic move from the Ferrari driver there. A lot of traction on those soft compound tires coming up through the inside of Parabolica.
Look at this train for the back of the grid. Looks like we have Neon Rays looking to try and make a move on Jean. He dives late on the brakes into turn one. Was a bit of contact there, but luckily no damage thus far.
Young IP unable to drive once again, it would seem, here in the session, and it looks like we have Zamajo in the back of the grid right now on the medium compound tires. He's lost a massive amount of time, it would seem, in that Ferrari as the grid is about to update his time. Hopefully he is currently 34 seconds away from P18 in that Ferrari. We'll have to check back in with him later. Joining us up at the front of the grid though, it's Chenjay and Falcon. Chenjay and Falcon both losing it a little bit coming through Ascari. You saw Chenjay very close behind that Renault driver now. He has dropped back to over a second just because of a little mistake through Ascari.
Right behind him. Fubar right on the gearbox of that Haas car. They make their way through Parabolica. Of course, DRS is now enabled. So Fubar will have the DRS on Chenjay.
A little bit of a lag there, at least on my monitor. Hopefully not the case for Fubar. He's up ahead into turn one.
Has his nose ahead. They're still side by side. Through turn two, the second part of the chicane. They're still side by side. And Chenjay gives up the position. Moves back into third, and Fubar up into second.
Now, if I'm Fubar, based on how we saw him take that turn one there, I'd be surprised if he didn't get a warning for that, because he did cut that inside curbing just a little bit, but he did maintain a perfect wheel-to-wheel composure with Chenjay through that turn, and he did that while cutting that curbing. So very nice driving, clean driving from him, making sure that nothing gets bent out of shape on either chassis for these drivers. And we have BTFU behind Henry now in sixth. He has DRS down into Ascari. We'll see what kind of gap he's able to pull out from that Williams ahead of him. He's doing a really good job of catching up that Williams. You can see Henry there trying to conserve a little bit of the battery. These two just dragging each other along, and you can see Custom is in on that action as well in the Mercedes. BTFU looking inside Henry right now.
That's
coming
an
wheel to
incident
wheel.
at the Scary. Sky Bits has been spun around.
BTFU doing a really good job of getting out in front of Henry there through Parabolica in the fight for fifth.
Sorry to cut you off there, Striff, but Chenjay has just made a move on Fubar for second place, and I don't think the Mercedes driver's done with him yet.
On board with Fubar now. You can see him there trying to get a good exit out of turn one here. Ramping that engine up. turning up those engine modes, trying to catch up with the Haas.
And also behind them, Henry and BTFU. Henry getting very, very close to the rear of that Toro Rosso.
Skybits, the second driver to pit here in the session. Zamajo, of course, being the first, but Skybits into the pits now in that Haas. He takes a 5-second penalty upon entry.
Well, some very tight racing going on here today.
Zamajo in that Ferrari at the back of the grid. Like I said, we would check in with him later. He just crossed the line for the fastest lap of the race. It was a 122.757, so he is absolutely flying, and hopefully he's able to put on a show later in this
And
race.
the safety cars out as Hotting and Sneaky have come together at the second Lesmo, right on board with Fusions here. You can see there's like no gap in between them, and Fusions is out.
Very unfortunate there. Sneaky, his car just resting on the circuit, and it looks like he does have control of his car now. Very interesting situation here between the Red Bull, Renault, and Racing Point drivers. The stewards are most definitely going to have to say something about that. Zamajo just sneaks right on by, and Sneaky is still in control of his car here. I'm not too sure what is going on.
But look at this action in the pit lane. Sorry to cut you off there, but this pit lane is crazy at the moment.
Tons of drivers in the pits right now. Falcon and Neon Rays opting to stay out. Everyone else into the pits now. Zamajo, I'm sure, is going to be staying out, as he is on those medium compound tires. Skybits, Sneaky, is now driving once again. That was a very interesting incident there with the Danish driver in the Red Bull, as it appears he has crashed and left the game with his car still intact on circuit. So unfortunately, as a result of that, Fusion's unable to finish this race, and his car is going to come into the pits. So very unfortunate there for Sneaky. Neon Rays in second.
Yeah, looks like Falcon and Neon Rays either missed the pit and the pit lane when the safety car was called out, or just decided not to pit. So Falcon on those 5-lap-old softs, I dare say he might have just lost the lead of this race.
And this just in, while we are behind safety car conditions, I do have a report from Hotting himself in that Renault, saying that unfortunately he did not hit Sneaky intentionally. He was actually parked in the middle of the road. So hopefully there is some footage of that, Hotting, and we are able to take a look post-race. But for now, we are on lap 7 behind the safety car conditions. And moving on here, we can see a massive strategy adjustment as all of these drivers are mixed on those hard and medium compound tires. Jasko in the Red Bull has switched on to soft compound tires, which means that he is most definitely going to have to pit again. And I do believe all of these drivers on the mediums will have to pit again as well. It is going to be extremely difficult to go 20 laps on those medium tires without another safety car to slow things down, or at the very least some VSCs in amongst all of the action.
Well, the guys on those medium tires are definitely going to be struggling towards the end. But nevertheless, that's the gamble they've gone for. Has Henry picks up a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Also remember that all the track limits under safety car conditions are very, very strict. So no going off track at all under the safety car conditions if you can help it.
If you have a look on screen now at the timing tower, you can see the change of positions that we've had throughout this race so far. Of course, Fusions and Hotting out of this race. Sneaky is no longer in the race either, as he is now ghosted as a result of him leaving the session. His car is still on circuit, and drivers, if you are listening into the broadcast, please be aware that although he is no longer in the session, his car is not going to be ghosted. As per league rules, ghosting is disabled. With that being said, Neon Rays, as we saw in Germany, starting at the back of the grid, he is now up into second position here, moving up 17 positions. Shenjie, Fubar, and Yoda have not progressed from where they began this race. Everyone else has moved up pretty well a slot. Rackety's dropped back quite a chunk, and Jean in 11th right now, up from 9th. So looking good in the McLaren. McLaren looking to have a good race here as the safety car makes its way across the line into lap 8 now. I do believe we will see it back into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Hopefully have our racers off to some green flag racing. Zamajo, I think, out of most of these drivers is going to have a really good time here. But if we take a look at the tires, he is still on those mediums and he cannot go to the end of the race on those. So we are most definitely going to see another pit stop from the Ferrari, who was on pole position at the beginning of this race. But now he's in 15th.
Both Ferraris getting off to a dreadful start here at the Circuit de Monza. But this safety car has surely saved Majo's race. Now he has a chance. It's a chance to make his way through the field and hopefully salvage a few points from this race. You can see all the cars all in a nice line as they make their way around the track. Of course, trying to get temperature into those tires as Rackety leaves the session.
Rackety, unfortunately, having a bit of an issue there with his connection. Hopefully, he's able to get back into session before this lap finishes, because it is the safety car coming in at the end of lap 8, like assumed. And Falcon now at the front of the grid is going to do a job of controlling the pace as that safety car breaks away from the grid. It is now in his hands. Falcon is effectively the safety car until he crosses the start-finish line. And we will be paying close attention to how things unfold on the grid ahead of this restart, as things definitely intensify during these times. And that is, I do believe, Falcon pinning it down to the floor. Everybody getting away now. Let's have a look at how things unfold. Crossing the line now. Falcon in the lead of this race. Neon Rays behind him, and Chenje in third. Chenje looking down the inside of the Williams. Ooh, there's a contact! And that is the Williams of Neon Rays into the rear of Chenje. Excuse me. Neon Rays into the rear of Falcon. Chenje gets away into lead of this race, and we have a major collision in Sector 1 in Turn 1 there. Chenje is now in the lead. Fubar in second. Falcon in third. We'll have to take a look at the chassis of those cars to make sure they don't have too much damage. I think Neon Rays took a massive hit to that front wing. We'll have to take a look. Henry into third. Falcon definitely has damage as Henry and Yoda move up around the outside of that driver, and BTFU is looking at him now too, just hunting him down in that Toro Rosso here ahead of the restart. Chenje off to a good lead in the front in the Haas as well. It's wheel to wheel with Falcon and BTFU. You can see the front left wing of that Renault is absolutely demolished. So very unfortunate for him, and that's Custom up the inside out on the exit out of Ascari. Holy cow. Falcon has just lost a massive amount of pace in that Renault, and it's very unfortunate that that happened to him.
Pit.
Yeah, he's slowing things down so bad here. He has absolutely no pace in that car whatsoever. Neon Rays on board with him. He has the exact same caliber of damage on the front of that Williams as he is now dropped back into 16th.
Sorry, Strift cutting off there, but Yoda and Henry going side by side. Looks like Yoda has made that overtake. Of course, no DRS available yet for these drivers after the safety car restart, but that is Yoda up into the podium places. But Henry, BTFU, not too far behind him.
Now, key thing to note here is first place driver down through the 6th place driver are alternating their tire compound. So first place medium, second place hard, and so on and so forth down through into 6th position with Custom on those hard compound tires. We'll have to see how these tires play out throughout this race. We got 17 laps remaining, 18 if you include the lap that we're presently on. And near the end of this race, those mediums are going to be quite hard to manage for these drivers. Henry, hopefully using that big brain strategy, staying out on these mediums. And of course, penalties for all of these drivers, should they get any, going to play a role near the end of this race. Of course, now we've had one safety car here. We are on lap 10. lots of excitement, and that's Semajo moving up the inside of Jean, down the back straight into Parabolica. Is he going to get it done? Jean very, very early on the brakes in comparison to Semajo there, so Semajo gets the move done. He's up into 8th, and he is absolutely taking position after position in that Ferrari, and I guess that's a good thing considering he's putting a good show on for the Italian fans here in the Circuit du Monza.
Well, BTFU has had a bit of a mistake at the chicane. Gets a 3-second time penalty for it. And as well as loses that 4th place to Henry.
Custom moving
And
super
Custom
fast up the
around
outside.
the outside. It looks like he gets the move done.
And we have
Don't
a train
count out
forming here.
Aphrodite or Semajo. Or even Jean. Is right behind them.
I have to say, Mikhail, if I am on this grid right now and I have any idea where Semajo is, if I am a driver in front of Semajo, I don't care if there's 17 laps left in this race. Semajo is currently running an 8th, and as he is the lead driver of this championship, we have a safety car. As I do believe Jasko has
been an incident on the straight.
There's an issue.
Jasko and Ferge have come together on the straight, it looks like. And that is a big, big incident.
We use the AI-controlled sneaky car for a camera there. You can see there's some serious damage on that racing point. Unfortunately, Jasko's car not on the circuit for us to see there, but we have 4 retirements here in this race and a second safety car here. Now, this is going to shake everything up because some of these drivers, like Semajo, for example, are getting a free pit stop, and we have a rev bug on Shenjay's car, unfortunately. But this is absolute chaos here now on this second safety car, because look at all of these different tire compositions. We have BTFU, Henry, jumping in on those mediums. Semajo gets in onto the hards. So Semajo planning on going from 10th to 1st on the hard compound tires with 15 laps remaining, as he has already expended his mediums and his softs. And things are just intensifying lap after lap here, as we saw a multitude of overtakes ahead of or after that restart. And what do you think, Mikhail? What do you think about these drivers who have been able to pit for fresh tires here? BTF all the way through to Custom. Skybits as well, and 15th on fresh tires as well.
Well, they're definitely going to have the grip available from those tires. Of course, those hard tires are going to be quite hard to get heat into. But definitely won't have to worry about those tires not making it to the end. Unlike some of the drivers here at the top, specifically, I think Rackety, Yoda, and Shenjay. Our top medium runners are going to have quite a bit of an issue. We'll definitely have to manage their tires towards the end of this race.
Yeah. One thing to note for all those drivers, though, as they all started on those soft compound tires, if for whatever reason we should have another safety car here in the session, they are going to have that fresh set of mediums to jump onto, which could play a very large role in the finish to this race, should that happen. Of course, there's a lot of what ifs in that scenario, but something to keep your mind on. Of course, Fubar looking good on the 7-lap old hards right now. He has yet to have a solid podium finish here this season, and he was, I believe, if I remember right, one of the favorites, at least coming in for some regular solid points finishes. Mercedes right now currently at the back of the Constructors' Championship, not where they want to be. So
no, definitely not.
Hopefully they're able to put some points on the board today. Custom into the pits on fresh mediums. It looks like he had another issue, as he's decided might have been an error for him to go on those softs, because he was on the softs, right? So now he may want to just say, you know what, that was a bad mistake. Let's get onto the mediums and catch the grid and do my work on the overtaking side of things.
Yep, so another safety car. So the racing has been nullified for now, ladies and gentlemen, but do not worry. A couple laps time. Be right back to the action.
Take this time here. Now, the safety car is not coming in at the end of this lap. Neon Ray's taken a penalty. Hawning has left the session after unfortunately retiring due to an issue that we will, of course, review later. And a very late notification on that safety car saying that it is in this lap. Shenjay having to slow things down extremely quick, and looks like as a result of that, there is a little bit of contact amongst the grid, but we are going to be racing again here with that.
Oh, it's a massive incident. Massive incident. I think that's Henry and BTFU. BTFU into the wall on the main straight. Absolute disaster for the Toro Rosso.
Henry into 8th. Big shuffle of positions here. Sneaky's car, the AI-controlled car, is hopefully not going to cause any issues here. As we have Custom on board now. He absolutely sends it down the inside of that AI-controlled car. Even though it's an AI-controlled car, that could have gone very badly for the Mercedes, but he gets the move done. He is into 11th, and he has had a fantastic restart here in that Mercedes on the super fresh mediums. We have Zamajo catching up with Falcon now. Zamajo on those fresh hard compound tires compared to Falcon's 4-lap-old mediums here. Zamajo looking the inside of Ascari, deciding, no way, that's not a good idea. And he is going to have a fantastic exit out of Ascari here behind the rear of this Renault. And I have to say, Zamajo was our pole sitter, and he's looking quite good for a solid points finish, given the pace he's showing in that Ferrari right now. His teammate not doing too shabby either. Rackety, Astrodate goes wide coming out of Parabolica, and you can see the Ferrari of Rackety getting ahead, and that's Jean up the inside of Astrodate as well, trying to catch up.
He might get Rackety as well. He might get Rackety as well. They're side by side as they make their way down into turn 1. Rackety leaves the room. Jean still committed to that side, but Rackety will stay in front for now. Let's see how much traction he can get on those mediums. Looks like he's gotten enough to hold him at bay for now. They make their way through the second chicane.
We have a huge battle unfolding here in the midfield as well. Zamajo, Falcon, Henry, and Undertaker all in extremely close proximity to what's going on ahead of them with Astrodite. The two Alphas running 6 and 7 right now. There is a massive train forming here. Falcon wheel to wheel with Henry. Now Zamajo wheel to wheel with Henry.
Henry's later on the brakes.
A little bit of contact. Ooh, there's Zamajo.
Pushed out wide.
Very tight racing through Ascari there between the Williams and Ferrari.
But it's not over yet. Henry's going to come back at him. Custom as well with that toe right in the mix as well. Of course, Henry's still carrying that front wing damage. He gets a whole bunch of understeer.
Ooh.
Bit of wheel tapping there. Custom very, very close to hitting that pit wall.
And with all this fighting, Zamajo has actually dropped behind Falcon, but Falcon now looking down the inside of Undertaker here through turn 1. They're wheel to wheel. Falcon dropping back just a little bit. Undertaker getting out in front in that Alfa Romeo. Falcon doing a fantastic job of sticking with that Alpha through turn 1 here. He has a fantastic run. He's going through the Curva Grande. He's moving up the outside, down into the second chicane here. Wheel to wheel, it's Falcon, and he's out in front of that Alpha coming through the turn. Fantastic stuff from him, and Zamajo is now looking on to capture that P8 from the Alfa Romeo, and Custom, Henry, and Neon Rays are all watching this unfold very closely in front of them. And that is the Alfa Romeo of Undertaker. He goes off into the gravel. Neon Rays catches him up, and Henry and Zamajo make their way up into the points.
Unbelievable stuff.
Meanwhile, John sticking with Rackety still in the battle for 4th.
Yeah, Rackety holding his own up there in 4th place for the Scuderia at the moment.
He is going to be under serious threat here, though, from this McLaren with the DRS coming down the pit straight. Down into turn 1, it can be so strong. Of course, Rackety doing a good job of
Oh,
stretching
look
that
at the
gap out a little.
speed! Look at the speed! From so far back there, side by side, into turn 1. Oh, looks like Rackety has just gotten ahead for now.
John is playing
But
this
my goodness.
very well.
Henry picks up a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. It looks like the gaps are slowly extending, especially out front. But John still all over the back of this Ferrari.
Shenjay in very good track position right now, but of course you have to take a look at those tire life
And Neon Rays is
numbers.
out of the session. And a VSC.
Not too sure what happened there, as looks like it's just inside of that first Lesmo, maybe through that second chicane that there was an incident. Not sure. We'll have to see what happened from his point of view later on. But Henry now in 10th position has extended that gap between him and Undertaker to a 2.2 Undertaker on those 11-lap-old hards versus the 5-lap-old mediums. VSC conditions, everyone requiring to slow that delta, and hopefully some people are able to get a good restart here when that finally goes offline. Of course, John very close to the rear of that Ferrari, having to maintain delta pace. And I do believe it is VSC offline. Zamajo into the pits. He's gone on the soft compound tires here, using that VSC.
Changing his front wing. Samajo's had a bit of an incident, changing that front wing now. Meanwhile, at the back of the grid, it looks like Undertaker has made the move around the outside of the Curva Grande on Skybits. So Undertaker now back up into the points. And also this battle for 8th position. It's looking to be a good one, Stryfium.
Falcon up the inside of Ascari now on Astrodite. Very clean move from the Renault. Getting that overtake done extremely easy, it would seem. Very great pace in that Renault right now on the 8-lap-old mediums versus the 12-lap-old hards. Custom and Henry battling now. Custom getting out in front of Henry in the Williams. He is going to have DRS on the Mercedes, though. He's going to carry so much speed down the straight. Just look at the rate of which he is going to pass here.
Unbelievable speed. That DRS is so powerful.
Oh, but Henry goes deep, and that's Custom's position for the taking. He goes around the outside of Henry through turn 1, and he gets back into 8th. What a switchback there from Custom. Henry not going to be happy about going deep into that turn. He does, of course, have wing damage on that Williams. He's showing great pace regardless, but he is missing that front right end plate. Custom is missing his front left end plate. Both cars with damage, both cars putting out absolute crazy battling here. Astrodite sticking with Falcon for battle for P6 right now. Still within a second. He's going to have DRS coming down the Sector 2 straight. You can see there, Falcon conserving a little bit of his battery. So is Astrodite, just sticking within the DRS of Falcon. Keeping things relatively clean through Ascari here. They are on different tires. Astrodite, the 13-lap-old hards. Falcon, the 9-lap-old mediums. Jean is currently less than a second behind Rackety as well, as we've seen him for the past few laps sticking with that Ferrari very, very well. Samajo we saw pitted during that VSC for soft tires. He's currently 5 seconds behind Sneaky, who is no longer in the game. So as soon as Samajo passes Sneaky, you know, he's lost a lot of time here. Let's be real. He's 4 seconds behind the AI-controlled Sneaky. Sneaky, 10 seconds behind BTFU, who we saw, unfortunately, get some damage earlier. And there is, make no mistake, a lot of time to make up here with 7 laps remaining.
Custom's deep in turn 1. Henry will get him in a similar fashion to that Custom did before him. Samajo sets the fastest lap, and Custom's in the grass.
Skybit's coming across now. He gets hit into the wall. Undertaker moving through. Custom has spun out completely. Undertaker moves into 10th. Skybits got tapped from Customs Mercedes as it swung back onto the circuit there. I do not believe he had control with the momentum he was carrying onto the dirt like that. Just no control over that car. And
that is a
that
safety
was
car.
a very, very violent accident there for Custom. And we have a safety car here on lap 20 in Italy. It is the third physical safety car here in Monza. And this race, Mikal, is going to be quite interesting. Now, all of those drivers from first down through fifth need to pit. Shenjay
Looks like
staying out.
opting to
Fubar.
stay out.
Oh, this is going to be monumental for some of these drivers. Yoda into the pits. Very, very smart move there. Rackety into the pits as well. And I do believe everybody behind Yoda is going to come into the pits, but Falcon stays out. This is absolute craziness. Chaos is what it is, Mikal. We have so much difference in strategy here now with this third safety car throwing a wrench into so much stuff. This race is absolutely crazy. And I'm not saying it went up to tier 2, okay? Because tier 2 is something else with the full wet conditions, but this is something else. This is a completely different race entirely. 3 safety cars, 1 VSC, and a ton of different strategies going on circuit right now. You can look at our 2 leaders, Shenjay, Fubar, 15-lap-old tires, different tire compounds. One's on mediums, one's on hards. Falcon, 11 laps old on those mediums. Astrorate is in 4th in the Alfa Romeo, reserving for Samus on the 15-lap-old hards. Yoda, Rackety, Jean, all on fresh softs. Semajo is in 8th after coming from the back of the grid due to a terrible start to this race on the 3-lap-old softs. It's going to be absolute chaos at this restart. Sneaky, you know, although he's no longer in this race, his car is sitting in 9th on the 15-lap-old mediums, and everyone else behind him is on fresh softs. So out of the 20 drivers that began this campaign, Mikal, only 13 in reality are left here racing. And what a crazy, crazy campaign it's been.
Well, I'm sure those top 4 are going to be kicking themselves for not diving into the pits, as Skybits picks up a penalty for multiple warnings.
Now, if you are joining us in the chat, we are beginning lap 22 of 27 behind safety car conditions. Looking at this timing tower right now, what do you guys think? Who's going to be taking the podiums? Who's going to be taking the win? And of course, if you're new, this is the Misfits Racing League Season 2, round number 10. It is the Italian Grand Prix for our Tier 1 drivers. Make sure you smash that follow button so you know when we're live. And we are live every Thursday for awesome, epic Formula 1 racing action. And this has been epic and awesome so far, wouldn't you say, Mikal?
It's definitely been a very, very good show thus far, but it's not over yet. And I dare say, fingers crossed, the best is yet to come, ladies and gentlemen. With 5 laps remaining, the majority of the grid on those fresh softs, our top 4 runners, plus the AI car of Sneaky on very, very worn mediums and hards.
Now, something to note here, as Sneaky is no longer in this race, he's no longer in the session, his car on the grid is not going to be ghosted, meaning that for any of those drivers behind him at present time, from 10th down through 14th, all the way to custom, they are going to have to overtake that car cleanly without incident as a result of the fact that he will not ghost in that Red Bull. And he is on 16-lap-old mediums, so might be tricky. We'll have to see what kind of pace they're able to pull out
in this lap. So the 5-lap sprint to the end of the race begins.
I just can't get over the difference in tire strategy we're seeing from the top 4 drivers. Sneaky included, all of the drivers in between on those soft compound tires. This is going to be absolute craziness. The safety car is into the pits. I do believe Shenjay is sending it now down the pit lane. We are back. Green flag racing. Fubar, Falcon on the restart on those mediums, already wheel to wheel with Fubar, putting the pedal to the metal down through into turn 1. That's Falcon out in front of the Mercedes on the inside. They're wheel to wheel through turn 1. That's Shenjay in the lead of this race. Falcon still wheel-to-wheel with Fubar coming out of that turn right now, and we are focusing on the front of this race as this action is absolutely crazy. Custom is overtaking Sneaky.
Asteroids in the grass. Oh.
John, Yoda, all a part of this. Yoda into third now. He gets a really interesting overtake there. John taps and bounces off the curbing. Rackety into fifth now. Look at the amount of overtaking we're seeing here on this restart. John almost losing it through that first Lesmo there. He is now watching all of these drivers battle in front of him. Falcon has dropped back into fourth position. Yoda is into second place in the McLaren. And he is gaining on that Haas of Chenjay through a scar. You can see Chenjay currently a second and 4/10 ahead. But Yoda on this back straight is going to absolutely tower down behind him. Look at the gap decreasing and decreasing as he moves down the straight.
Look at this three-way battle for fifth at the moment. It's like Rackety and Falcon going side by side.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the Ferrari of Zamajo catching this train in seventh right now. Astrodate behind him on 18-lap old hards. Fantastic driving from everybody so far here. Look at the tight gap between all these drivers. That's Rackety and Falcon wheel-to-wheel through turn one. Now Jean looking to get a good exit and going wheel-to-wheel with Falcon there. He drops back just a little bit. The Ferrari of Zamajo watching all of this unfold. This is absolute crazy racing we're watching here on lap 24 of the Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, but it's not over yet. Falcon set it off.
Falcon's
off the wall. He resets the track there. I'm sure the steward's going to have something to say about that towards the end of the race.
Everybody making their way up ahead of Falcon. Now he's dropped back into 13th place. That's absolute craziness. We saw him battling for third 1 lap ago, and now he's all the way in 13th. Things can just change in an instant here in Monza. Such a fast circuit. Astrodite and Henry now wheel-to-wheel. Astrodite definitely going to be feeling the wear on those hard tires. Henry looking to capture 7th position here. Look at the speed and traction he is carrying on that Williams. Wheel-to-wheel now. Down into Parabolica. He looks like he's gotten out just in front of Astrodite. Skybits there in the Haas is a part of this as well. And BTFU right next to him. And that's BTFU. I think he's going to have a run behind that Alfa Romeo. Look at this battle. 3 wide down turn one, or down the pit straight into turn one. Excuse me. That is BTFU on the very far inside there. Wheel to wheel with Henry. Custom. Oh my God, this is Mikhail. Help me out here.
I don't know where to look.
Something else.
I don't know where to look. There's like battles all over the place. Looks like Henry, Custom going side by side. BTFU boxing Custom in. Meanwhile, just ahead of them, Skybits has looked like he's gotten the move done. That's a late dive from BTFU. And there's contact.
Henry out wide. He spins out the rear. You can see that he's out in the gravel there. Custom gets out into the gravel as well. Falcon zips by them, which is where he lost it last time round. As they enter the first Lesmo now, everybody going to be struggling for traction. You can see BTFU into 9th place. Astrorite, I can't believe he's in 8th right now on those 19-lap old hards. And you know what? Fubar is doing a fantastic job on his tires as well. But Rackety making a move. Fubar goes wide outside of Ascari. Just as I say that, Jean and Rackety now wheel-to-wheel down the back straight into Parabolica. It looks like Jean's going to get out in front of him. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? That's going to be Rackety. He's out in front of Jean now, coming out of Parabolica. This is absolute fantastic racing from the Ferraris here. Zamajo is into 3rd, Rackety in 4th, and Jean and him are still fighting.
And Yoda's making a pass for the lead on those fresh softs. So Yoda now in the lead of this race. Zamajo in 3rd. Looks like Rackety and Jean still going side by side. Fubar very close behind them.
Yoda's race isn't done yet. Although he's in the lead, he has one more driver to worry about here. I don't care if Shenjay's in 2nd. I think Zamajo is going to make some last-minute moves to try and get onto that podium any way he can. And he is absolutely gaining on the rear of that Haas right now. The amount of overtaking going on right now ahead of or after this restart is just absolutely crazy. As Rackety still battling with Jean back here. Shenjay dropping back behind Yoda. You can see Zamajo as a result catching him now. The Ferraris in a solid position here to hopefully take over a 2-3 position, maybe even a 1-3 position. But John doesn't want that to happen. It's a full-blown battle between the Haas the 2 Ferraris, and of course the 2 McLarens right now. This is fantastic racing here for Tier 1. Fubar in the
Fubar's
Mercedes.
sticking with them. He's sticking with them on those 20-lap old hards. Great job for him as BTFU makes the move on Undertaker. So he puts himself into 9th position. Next up on his chopping block is Aphrodite on those ancient hard compound tires.
BTFU sending it down the inside here. He has DRS, not too much battery left, but he is on those super fresh compound tires. He's out in front here, wheel to wheel. We see them through turn 1. BTFU, look at the traction coming out of that Toro Rosso. That's just fantastic traction on those super, super new softs compared to those 21-lap old hards. He was able to make that move around the outside of turn 1. Just absolute fantastic. Rackety and Jean still fighting here. Jean getting out in front of Rackety. Zamajo here on the last lap, 1.3 seconds away from 2nd place. Yoda is leading this race on those soft tires, and he is going to be happy about that. Currently still 2nd in the championship. Rackety dropping back behind John now. He does have the DRS heading down into Ascari. Hopefully that's able to help him in his quest for P4. Of course, guys, one thing that we haven't taken into consideration is that most of, if not all of these drivers have some kind of penalties. As we can see, Skybit's taken a 3-second penalty there. And these gaps on this grid are so tight right now that these things are going to play a role. Yoda crossing the line first here in Monza. He gets passed over, dropped back into 3rd position.
Semaj will take the win of this race based on penalties. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, this grid has been shuffled so much in the past 6 laps, Mikal. I don't even know where we were when we began the safety car restart. What an absolute monster race out of our Tier 1 drivers here for MRL, Mikal.
Absolutely crazy. I didn't even know where to look. But Samajo, after being at the back of the grid twice, will take the win of this race. Very nice drive from the Ferrari man. Well, Shenjie in that 2nd place. Great job from him as well. And Yoda rounding off the podium here in Monza this evening.
That was something else, Mikal. And there you have it, everyone. There are the times. You can see on screen now there was a massive amount of penalties amongst the top 10 drivers. Unfortunately, 20 drivers began this race. Only, oh my God, I cannot believe the amount of driving. 13 drivers finished, 12 drivers, because Sneaky did not finish the race, in fact. But Zamajo, after penalties, he takes the race win here in Italy for Ferrari. I'm sure all the Italian fans are proud. Of course, it's the Haas of Shenjie in 2nd with that Ferrari power once again. Yoda in 3rd, Fubar, and I have to say Yoda had a fantastic drive. Fubar in 4th, Jean from 20th to 5th in the McLaren. Aphrodite in 6th, Skybits in 7th, Rackety in 8th, Undertaker in 9th, BTFU finishes 10th, Henry in 11th, Sneaky not finishing this race, which means Falcon will be in 12th, I do believe. Custom 13th, Neon Rays 14th, Verge. Anyway, we'll have to figure out the last few. Because of Sneaky, it kind of just pushes things a little bit, but we'll have to take a look at how that will unfold. But there is the grid, everybody. We'll have a quick look at, no, we won't, because this is about to disappear. But that was a super, super crazy race. And I cannot believe how that race unfolded.
Absolutely incredible. Monza never seems to disappoint. And this grid never seems to disappoint, Strifium. There's always something going on.
Oh, yeah. It's a super, super tight grid, of course. And you can see the grid there on screen once again. That is the drivers who we all saw participate here today. Unfortunately, Samus was unable to join us for the race. So Aphrodite, we saw him have a fantastic race in Samus's place today. Hawning, unfortunately, over at Renault, unable to finish the race. We saw a spectacular drive from both Ferraris once again. And Sneaky, unfortunately, having some issues there. We'll have to figure out what happened with that after we finish up here. Of course, Yoda was looking mighty good at the end. Unfortunately, penalties saw him drop back into third, but great drive from him. Young IP unable to begin the race due to more connection issues, and it's just crazy racing today. And if you guys enjoyed this race, if you enjoy F1 racing in general, and you guys like to see super epic content like this, I have to say, follow the channel, guys. I assure you, you will not regret it, because this season has been getting better and better. The races, the intensity, it's just been ramping up, Mikal.
Yeah, it's getting really tight and really close between all of these drivers at the moment, and we're seeing some incredible showings from basically everybody here.
Without a doubt.
So you'd be a fool if you did not want to witness the greatness, or sometimes lack thereof in some instances. Of course, many incidents in Monza.
Yeah.
Of course, the stewards will need to have a look at all of those, but nevertheless, we press on, and these drivers will now be preparing for round 11 at the famous Spa-Francorchamps. So be sure to tune in next week, same time, for both Tier 2 and Tier 1.
That's right.
Making their way around the legendary Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, that's right. I can't wait for Spa. It's going to be super intense. I have a feeling it's going to be just as good, if not better even, than the race we saw here today for both divisions. And of course, guys, if you missed the whole race, if you're just looking for some fantastic highlights, if you're looking to see the Tier 2 race, be sure to head on over to our YouTube channel, where you can find all of those things on demand, all the way back to the first race of our Season 2 here for Misfits Racing League. We began things in Abu Dhabi, and now we have just finished off the 10th round here in Italy, and what a season it's been so far. Of course, if you are a Formula 1 driver here on PC and you're looking to get into league racing, you're more than welcome to join the Misfits Racing League. Make sure you check out that Discord link down below and hit us up. We're always looking for Tier 1, Tier 2 drivers. You know, if we get enough drivers, we'll open a third division. You know, it's all about participation, and we just enjoy watching you guys have fun in the game, race for points, have some kind of championship of your own, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. And of course, we're always looking for just members of our community. So if you're looking for a great community to be a part of, learning, racing, you know, meet new friends, create new relationships, it's a great place to be. So check out the Misfits Discord down below. And in the chat as well, Samus, the founder himself, linked it for us in the chat. Of course, it's just absolutely fantastic driving. And we are going to be looking at things after the stream from a steward angle. And of course, the correct standings for both drivers, constructors will be available for you guys in the Discord. And I think we're going to be posting them on Twitter soon as well. So, of course, follow us on Twitter for all MRL and Misfits Discord updates. It's a great place to be. The link is also down below. So check us out there. But I think that pretty well covers everything. Mikal, am I missing anything?
No, I don't believe so. Just crazy action at Monza once again, and join us next week for more crazy action at Spa.
That's right, guys. Race action next week, Thursday, 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time, 9 o'clock British Summertime. Make sure you guys are there for the race. Don't miss it. It's going to be super fun. 3 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock BST. See you guys then. My name is Strifium, and joining me once again is Mikal, and thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.